We're going to start off fractions problem solving workshop. Find 3/4 of 180. Question 1, right? So 3/4 is 3/4, as most of you all know. So it's asking of 180. Whenever you see the sign of, what it actually means is times. So what you could do is 3/4 times 180, and to times by a whole number you just put 1 at the bottom and then times top by top, bottom by bottom. You'll get an answer of, I believe, 540 over 4, and then you're going to have to divide that to get it into a whole number. And just a quick way of thinking about it would be to think about what is 1/4 of 180, and then just timesing that answer by 3 to get 3/4. 1/4 will be 45, so if you times that by 3 you're going to get the same answer as this, and the answer will always come out to 135. Alright, let's move on to question 2. Make sure you do this when you're entering it online. But it's asking you to arrange the fractions in order from largest first, right? So a lot of people instantly just go and assume half is the largest because it looks pretty big, right? But just a quick explanation. If you split this into 8 pieces and you colour in 7 out of the 8, compared to splitting it into 2 and you colour in half, if they're the same size, this one will be bigger. But how you can just view it in a way that's a lot easier to understand is what you do is you make them all have the same denominator, right? So if we make half have the same denominator as this, so if we make half have 8 at the bottom, this is what we call equivalent fractions. And if I can just show you, to make half equal to 7/8, you have to see what do you do to get from 2 to 8 times by 4, and then you always do the exact same on the top. So it's going to be 4/8. And now I can ask you which one's bigger, 4/8 or 7/8. It's obviously 7/8 because it's a bigger number. If you didn't get that, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so what we're going to have to do is find the number that all of these go into, because we can't make 5 into 8, can we? So this is called the lowest common multiple of these 4 numbers. And what we can do is then, when they all have the same denominator, we can just look at which is bigger quite easily. So the quickest way to do that, because 2 and 4 go into 8, what we need to do is find something that 8 and 5 both go into, which is 40. So we're going to make all of these into 40. So to get from 7/8 to 40, to have 40 at the bottom, times by 5, times by 5, it's going to be 35. That's our first fraction. What about this one? You times the bottom by 8. You times the top by 8, 16. This one, times the bottom by 20, times the top by 20. Sorry. Times the bottom by 20 to get 40, times the top by 20. This one, times by 5, 40. What do you times the top by? Same thing. 3 times 5, get 15. Again. If you missed the equivalent fractions, you still don't understand, just go back and watch the example I made. Again, 4 to get the bottom, 10 that into 40. To get from 4 to 40, times by 10. to get from 3 to the top, times by 10. Hopefully you understand this. Same here. 40, to get the top number, we just times the top number by 10. And now we've got all of our fractions. Bosh. And you can easily just figure out which is the biggest, right? This is the biggest number at the top. Second biggest, third biggest, fourth, fifth, sixth. And obviously when you're entering them into the answer sheet, you're going to have to write this number, not this one. Okay, let's move on to question 3. How many thirds is 6 2 over 3? So how many thirds? A third is this number, right? We have to ask how many of these will make up that. What we can do, figure out how many thirds, so if we add 3 thirds, what do we get? You know how to add fractions. You just add the top number, leave the denominator the same. So we're going to get 3 over 3, which is 1 whole. So 3 thirds is 1 whole, because that's basically what a third is, right? It's divided into 3 bits. So if 3 thirds is 1 whole, how many do we need to get 6 wholes? We need 1 whole times 6. So we're going to need 3 times 6, which is 18. So we've got 18 thirds will make 6 wholes. There's still 2 over 3 left, right? We still need that. So where are we going to get the 2 over 3? Well, it's just another 2 thirds. So we add the 2. And there we go. 20 thirds will make 6 2 over 3. And again, you can check that by doing 1 over 3 times 20. And you'll see what you'll get is 20 over 3. And when you simplify that, you're going to get 6 2 over 3. And if that method was too complicated, just convert this to an improper fraction. What you do is 3 times 6 plus 2. Remember these invisible signs. And you get 20 over 3. And then what it's asking you is how many thirds go into that, right? It's much quicker. And you can quickly see it's just 20 of them. So the answer is 20. Okay, question 4. If 4 over 5 of Sam's money is £5.20, how much does he have altogether? Again, like I said, what of means is times. So you're saying 4 over 5 times Sam's money, which is all of Sam's money, is equal to £5.20. And it's asking you, pretty much, it's asking you what is this value? Another way to look at it would be 4 over 5 of the money is £5.20. So what is 1 whole of the money, which is 5 over 5? What is that equal to? And you can figure that out. I mean, you have to think, how can you get from 4 over 5 to 5 over 5? What you have to do is divide it by 4 to get 1 over 5. And then you times it by 5 to get to 5 over 5. So we'd have to do that to this number as well. So if you divide this by 4, 4 over 5 of Sam's money is equal to £5.20. It's asking how much does he have altogether? Altogether, all of it will be 1 whole. So he's asking how much does 5 over 5 equal? Because that's 1 whole, right? And that's how much 5 over 4 over 5 means. So we have to figure out how do we get from this number to this number, and then we can do the exact same to get from this number to this number. So to get from 4 over 5 to 5 over 5, we first divide it by 4 to get to 1 over 5, and then we times that by 5. So there's two operations we're doing here. And then we can do the same to this. So we divide this by 4, then we times it by 5. And what you're going to get is £6.50. Question 5. Write the missing number. We have to figure out what the top number is going to be. And all you have to do, if there's an equal sign, it means whatever's being done to the bottom is going to happen to the top as well. So to get from 7 to 49, we're timesing by 7. So we're going to do the exact same to the top to find this number, which will be times by 7. So the answer is going to be 4 times 7, which is 28. Question 6. What we can do is we can first add the numbers that have the same denominator. And with that, you just keep the denominators the same and you add the top two, so it's 6 over 4. But what we haven't done yet is add the half, because we need the denominator to be the same. So to get a half to have the same denominator as the others, we just stick in 4 and then try and figure out what the top should be. And it should be 2. So now we can add 2 over 4 to the previous result. And what we're going to get, 2 over 4 plus 6 over 4 is 8 over 4. And if you simplify that, you're going to get a half. Sorry, you're going to get 2. There you go. And that's your answer. Question 7. Again, we can't add fractions or whole numbers or anything really if there are different bottom denominators, right? So we need the denominators to be the same. This is a mixed fraction. You can't add that at all unless you change it to an improper. So change it to an improper. Remember the invisible signs. 7 times 3, 21, plus 2, 23. So it's just 23 over 7. And we have to minus 7 over 1, because that's what the whole number is. Now we can't subtract or add without the denominators being the same. So let's first convert this to have the same denominator. What we did was we times by 7 to get the bottom, and we have to times by 7 to get the top. So it's going to be 49 over 7. This is the same fraction as the one above it. 49 over 7 is 7, right? So now we can rub this out, and we can just put this here. And now we can just subtract as normal. And the answer we're going to get is 16 over 7. And then if you simplify that into a mixed fraction again, which you don't have to, sorry, it should be 26. 26 over 7, 26 over 7. And what you'll get is 3, 5 over 7. Bosh. Question 8. Change 43 over 5 into a mixed number. First you have to see how many times does 5 go into 43. It goes 8 times, so that's going to be the big number. Then you have to ask what the remainder is. So what's 5 times 8 is 40, the remainder is then 3, because there's 3 left over. Just going to be 3, and you keep the denominator the same. Question 9. Write two fractions that equal one whole when added together. Simplify this. 2 over 3. Right. Simplify anything else? Nope. But again, let's ignore this, and now it's 2 over 3. That makes it a lot easier. Because you can quite quickly see that 2 over 3 and 1 over 3 will add up to make one whole, because that will equal 3 over 3. So the answer will be these two. If it were a bit more difficult, you'd have to make the denominators the same, and you just have to find the lowest common multiple, which will be again like something like this will be the number, which will be a pretty big number. It's 240. There might be something lower than that, but that's probably what you'd have to go with because it'll be the quickest, right? And you're gonna have to convert all of these to have 240 at the bottom, but that's not a problem today because it's just these two. Let's move on to question 10. What fraction in its lowest terms is 400 meters of 1 kilometer? 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. So it's asking what is 400 meters of 1,000 kilometers. And yeah, that's just 400 over 1,000, right? And then if you cancel out the zeros, bop, bop, it's 4 over 10. And then you can simplify that further, which will be 2 over 5. And that's your answer. Write any comments in the comment section if you're struggling on anything as well, or bring it to a teacher if you're confused about something. So here, 1 over 2 of 12. So with these ones, when there's a fraction and there's an of, right? That basically just means times. Change this to a times. Change this to a times, right? A times symbol. So it's just asking 1 over 2 times 12 over 1. Which is equal to 12 over 2, 2 times the top times the bottom, right? Which is equal to 6 over 1, which is basically just 6. So that's your answer. Again, you can already, I'm sure you know what half of a 12 is, right? Okay, question 13. Change it to a times because it's a fraction that has an of symbol, so you change it to a times. Bosh. 2 over 8 times 8 over 1. 16 over 8. Simplify that. What number goes into all of these? 8 goes into the top one, 2 and 1, so it just equals 2. 3 over 4 times 36, or 3 times 36 will be 98 over 4, and then you simplify that. What you do, how many times does 4 go into 98 basically? It doesn't, so we can try 2. And you're going to get 49 over 2. Oh, let's see what I've done wrong. 36 times 3 is 108. My fault. Okay, let's just redo question 15. So question 15, 3 times 36, 3 over 4 times 36. It's 108 over 4, which if you divide it by 4, divide the top by 4, divide the bottom by 4, you get 27 over 1. So that's your answer, 27. Question 12, 9 over 3. Yeah, again, just times it. You're going to get 3 over 1. So your answer is 3. 2 over 6. 2 times 24 is 48. And what you have to do is simplify that. You're going to get 8 over 1, which is 8. 4 over 5. So 4 times 45. 180 over 5. And simplify that. It's going to be 18 times 2 basically. So it's 36 over 1 obviously, but the final answer is just 36. Right, let's go into question 17. Which number is the biggest? Again, we have to make these into whole numbers so we can actually understand. What's a quarter of 32? We'll just divide it in half and then divide that in half again, and you're going to get 8. What's a third of 27? Well, just think about what goes into 27 3 times. It's 9. So it's going to be 9. Which number's bigger? B. And obviously, like I said, you can do the one that we just did above, or you can just change the of to a times symbol. And you're going to get 32 over 4, and you're still going to get 8. Because when you simplify it, it'll be 8 over 1. Right here, most people will be able to see this already. What goes into 33 3 times 11. So that means 1 over 3 is 11. So what's 2 over 3? It's going to be 22, right? 1 over 5. I'll do it this way. Over 100 over 1. Because of just means times if there's a fraction here. So it's going to be 100 divided by 5. Just in case you didn't know, that's what that's what a fraction symbol means, right? It means divide. So this just equals divide by 5. Or you could just simplify it if that's how you like to think about it. And either way, you're going to get 20. Which number is bigger? 22 is bigger. Let's go on to question 19. I'm going to do it this way again. Times 25. You're going to get 50 over 5. If you simplify this, you're going to get 10. And this one, half of 18 is 9. So it's going to be 8. Bosh. So 8 apples to share equally. Question 20. 8 apples to share equally between 12 children. There are 8 apples. 8, right? There's 12 kids. So not everyone's going to get one whole apple, right? We have to figure out how much of an apple each kid is going to get. So what you're going to have to do so there are 12 kids and you have to divide equally 8 apples into 12 kids. So that just practically means 8 divided by 12. And that is also the same as saying 8 over 12. That's an easier way for you to find an answer here, because these two are the same. If you just simplify it, you're going to get 2 over 3. Question 21. The diagram shows Phoebe's kitchen floor. What fraction of the floor is shaded? Write the correct answer. Just count the numbers. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 by 4, which means there are 16 tiles overall because it's just 4 times 4. How many are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 are shaded out of the 16, so this is going to be a fraction. If you simplify that, 1 over 5, question 22, 1 over 5 of £4.50. To find that, we just do £4.50 divided by 5, which is 0.9, so that's 0.9 pounds. And to get 2 over 9 of £4.50, again we just times this a fraction. We do that, and what we're going to get is 9 over 9, which is 1, which is £1. So there's going to be £1 9 pence left. No, £1 9 pence that he's donating, right? So we have to take that away from the final value, which is going to equal £2.60, and that's going to be the final value. This should be on this side. So that's going to be your answer. You have to remember to take it away because it's asking how much money does he keep. Question 23. How many have we got left? Oh, only a few more. Martha buys a ribbon that is 7 over 10 of a yard long. She cuts off 2/5. So if you're cutting off, let's say 7 meters, and you're cutting off 2 meters, what you're going to do, you're going to subtract them because you're taking 2 meters off. So it'll be the exact same if you're doing 2/5 compared to 7/10. All you have to do is follow the laws of subtraction, which means we have to make this have the same denominator. So to change this to 10, we have to times it by 2. So we're going to times this by 2, and it's going to be 4. So now the new fraction we've got is 4 over 10 and 7 over 10. And if we subtract that, we get 3 over 10. And that's going to be our answer. Question 24. The recipe for one batch of brownies uses 3/4 of a cup of flour. She wants to bake half a batch. Okay. Three-quarters of a cup of flour. So, one batch, right? One batch, that's B for batch, is equal to 3/4. Well, it requires 3/4, right? What she wants to do is half of a batch, and we have to figure out what goes here. And some of you might be able to see this already. Because there's equal signs, because these are the same, all we have to do is find out what happens from here to here, and then do the same thing from here to here. So to get from one batch to half a batch, we're halving it, basically we're timesing it by a half, or timesing it by 0.5, and we're going to times this by a half as well to get the same thing. And if you do 3 over 4 times a half, you're going to get 3 over 8, which means for half a batch they need 3 over 8 cups of flour, and that's your answer. Bosh. Question 25, the final question. What fraction of this shape is shaded? Count the number of overall. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. And there is only 6 of them shaded, so it's 6 over 12. Simplify that, and you're going to get 3 over 6, which simplifies to 1 over 2. So your answer is E. That's all of maths done. Now, I believe English you should have been able to go through in the lesson, all of it, hopefully. So you shouldn't need any help with this. Spelling, if you get it wrong on the answer sheet, it just means you spelled it wrong. So just to remember that, make sure you note down any of these that you're getting wrong. Try and use them more in your sentences when you speak, right? Or when you write, because the spelling you're getting wrong is right, not speaking. So try and write more with the question, with the ones you're getting wrong. If you got brilliant wrong, whenever you're writing sentences in the start of next lesson during the vocab, right? Try and use brilliant and try and spell it right. But these ones, verbs, I'll go through these really quickly. Despite the heavy rain, Sarah continued her marathon training. Anything with ing is usually a verb, so she's training, right? But what's happening here is marathon training is an idea. Well, that's what she's doing. She's doing the marathon training. So that can't be the verb. The verb is doing. And which one is she doing? She's continuing. So that's the verb. Which is some people might get caught out by that, right? You have to figure out what is the action, or what is being done. Marathon training is being done. So even though it has ing at the end, it's going to be continued. The scientist meticulously examined the microscopic organisms under the microscope. Well, the only thing being done here is examining, right? So it's going to be that. After a long day at work, Martha enjoyed a soothing massage at the spa. So you might think the massage is being done, but no. Sorry, it's Maria. The subject is Maria. That's the main person in the sentence. And what's she doing? She's enjoying something. She's not... Yes, she's getting a massage done on her, but she's enjoying. It's going to be that. Orchestra's performance of the symphony captivated the audience. So even though the performance is being done, the subject of the sentence is the audience, and they're being captivated. So captivated is going to be the verb in the sentence. Detective meticulously gathered evidence at the crime scene. The only thing being done is gathering evidence. Meticulously is describing the verb, so that's the adverb, right? The old house stood tall amongst, you can already see, it's standing tall, right? It's stood. The chef skillfully prepared gourmet, there you go, it's prepared meals for the special guests. The children eagerly anticipated, that's the word, for the arrival of their grandparents, because the children are the subject, not the grandparents. Because you just have to think about what's the sentence really talking about, and it's talking about the children here, and with the orchestra it's talking about the audience. Like, the whole purpose of the sentence is to tell you what happened to the audience. So it's question 73, the explorers discovered, that's going to be the verb. The artist carefully blended. The company's new CEO swiftly implemented. The magician effortlessly performed. these are also big giveaways, the adverbs. If there's an adverb, there's probably a verb following it. Right? The writer passionately crafted, the gymnast gracefully executed, the politician eloquently delivered. So those are pretty easy, and hopefully you got them all right. I'm going to skip over these. Bring these to your English teacher next lesson if there's a question or a problem. Okay, so these ones, they can be a bit difficult. I might have to walk through these. So, river, okay. Odd two out, right? We have to figure out something that... 3 of them need to have a similarity. 2 of them won't match with that similarity. So we need to find a rule that will apply to 3, right? So if you look at the example, eagle, sparrow, raven, they're all birds. So that's why we can say these 2 are odd ones out. So we need a rule. And we can't just go by what feels odd. We have to have an actual rule that is being defied. So sun, star, moon. They're all celestial, like space objects. So it's obviously going to be river and land. Calf, horse, signet, I don't know how you say that. Cow, cub. So I don't actually know what this word means, but what I can assume, calf and cub are both baby versions of an animal. Horse and cow are big versions of an animal. So the odd one out is this is either going to be an animal or a baby version of an animal. I'm going to assume it's a baby version of an animal, so it's going to be horse and cow. I'll just double check what that means. So it's a young swan, but I wouldn't expect any of you to know that. But because it's quite obviously, it's not an animal you've heard of before. What you can assume is that it's a baby version of an animal, right? And then these 2 would be the odd one out. So bright, dark. You can already see these 2 are quite similar. Clever, spacious, intelligent. So these 3 describing an area, and these 2 are describing like a person, really. So it's going to be them 2. Fragile, physical, delicate, moral, feeble. These 2 are the same. These 3 are the same. Same meaning. Fragile, delicate, feeble. So it's going to be these 2. If you don't know the meanings, look them up in the dictionary. Make sure you note them down. Try and use them in as many sentences as you can. Just so you can get used to using them, right? Bike, car, speed, boat, property. So bike, car, and boat. All vehicles, so it's going to be these 2. Salt, tomato, cabbage, pepper, kitchen. So you might think salt and pepper are together, right? But kitchen doesn't go with it, and neither does tomato, cabbage, kitchen. So it can't be that. The rule can't be that. It can't be about like salt, pepper, kitchen. There's no rule there. There's nothing there. So you have to realize that, because it can't be tomato, cabbage, kitchen either. You have to think of the pepper, the food pepper, right? And then those 3 are all foods, and then you can say these 2 are the odd 2 out. So cube, cylinder, cuboid, trapezium, pentagon. You can already see that's a 2D shape. And that's a 2D shape, and those 2 are 3D shapes. So the rule is having a 3D shape. The odd 2 out are the ones that aren't, right? Excited, grieved, smile, sorrowful, sad, So how I'd go about this one? Look at the differences. This is like describing something that's being done. Something that's being done. This is a verb. Grieved. Excited is different because you're excited, right? Or you're sad. Or you're sorrowful. But smiling and grieved are both verbs. And those are going to be the odd two out because these ones are actually describing an emotion. Those two aren't. So, carrot, turnip, cabbage, bean, potato. This is an interesting one to put in a verbal reasoning, but you just have to have a bit of knowledge. Think of the similarities again. Think of a rule that it could be. And what I'd say is carrot, turnip, and potato will grow on the ground, so that's going to be the rule. And therefore, the odd two out are going to be these two. Compass, north, protractor, east, ruler. The rule is that all of these three are something like a equipment, school equipment, right? And north and east are not. Chair, bed, sofa, bunk, bench. So the chair, something you sit on, sofa, something you sit on, bench, something you sit on. So that's the rule. These two are going to be out. Circle, oval, square, ellipse, triangle. Square. So these three are circular, these two are not. Defect, flaw, change, error, swap. These are all kind of the same thing. They're saying something's wrong. Synonyms, right? They all mean the same thing, so it's going to be these two. Tell, order, request, inquire, ask. Request and inquire already mean the same thing, so does ask, so it's going to be these two. Glider, helicopter, airship, yacht, canoe. So these three are in the air, and these two are not. So that's going to be the rule. Mole, owl, badger, fox, kestrel. Kestrel is something that's flying. So these two, it's a bird, right? So these two are going to be the odd two out because they're both flying. The rest are just on ground. Apple, lettuce, mango, salad, kiwi. Fruits, so it's going to be these two. Rose, mosquito, daffodil, cricket, tulip. Daffodil, rose, tulip, flowers, so it's going to be these two. Mechanic, accountant, organ, solicitor, guitar. These are all, those three are instruments. Delight, dismay, joy, despair, misery. Delight, dismay. Okay, so we got three of them, dismay, despair, and misery, which are sadness, and these two are happiness, so we're going to choose those two. Just make sure I've given all the right answers. Yeah, there we go. Let's move on to NVR. And this is pretty similar actually, because you're given two questions, two objects which are similar. So again, you have to find a rule between these two, and then you just apply that rule and find which option it matches. So if you think about what the rule is here, what's similar, what's the same between these two, right? They both have a straight line. It's not curved, right? It's straight. And they both have a square. on them. So we're just going to apply that to here. Which ones have a straight line and a square? It's C. Here we have, they're both triangles, so it's just going to be E. Again, always just think for the rule between these two, right? So what's similar between these two? Well, it's quite difficult to find something. So they're not the same shape. The one has curves and one has straight lines, but they both have the same pattern. So I'm just going to assume same pattern. There you go. It's D. Similar between these two. There is a star. Nothing else really that you can see. So I'm just going to choose the one with the star, which is A. What's similar between these two? They both have 4 sides. Which one has 4 sides? A. What's similar between these two? They both have a grey circle. Choose the one with the grey circle. What's similar between these two? Both grey arrows. So choose the one with the same pattern. Which similar between these two? One has a curve. They both have curves, and they both have straight lines. So I'm going to look for something that has a curve and straight lines. This one only has curves. This one only has curves. No straight lines, no straight lines, no straight lines. So I'm going to choose B. So this one, what's similar? They both have 4 sides and they both have this pattern. So I'm going to look for something. Okay, none of these have 4 sides, so that can't be the rule. It's probably going to be something to do with the pattern, right? And C has the same pattern. 124. Question 124. What's similar between these two? They both have 3 shapes on the outside. 2 black, 1 white. I'm just going to look for something that has 2 black, 1 white. So it could either be B or A or D. All of these have 2 black and 1 white. Now I have to figure out something different that will make it, that will narrow it down even further. So it looks like the white is always clockwise to the 2 blacks, right? The 2 blacks are on the left and the right, so it's always more to the right if you kind of understand that clockwise. So it's not B and it's not, I wouldn't say it's D. So because this, look, if you look at it, the white is always the furthest clockwise. I'd say A. Oh, right, okay. No. So that's wrong, because if you do that, they can always be clockwise. This one we can cancel out. But these two are still, the white is always the most to the right. So we have to look for something different, and I don't know what's similar between these two. What other rules could we look for? We've looked at the patterns are the same. We've looked at the shading. We've looked at the number of objects. Now we can look at the size of the objects. So this one's a bit bigger. This one's a bit bigger. Okay, so it looks like the black object always has to be a bit bigger than the white. That's why I'm going to choose D instead of A. Okay, question 125. What's similar between these two? These are 2 shapes. Well, it looks like it's the same shape at top as the bottom, but what happens is the square gets reflected. Right? The square is flipped. So we're just going to look for something that has the same thing. This also rotates 90 degrees. This also rotates 90 degrees. So first we're going to look for something that rotates 90 degrees like that. Okay, so cross that out. That's rotating the wrong way. So cross that out. That's rotating the wrong way. Oh, so we've already just got the answer from that. Just look at the rotations, yeah. More similar between these two. Question 126. What I immediately look at with these types of questions is intersections, or like overlapping. So one area overlapping here, one area overlapping here. 1, 2. We've got 2 overlaps. So I'm going to quickly look for an option that has 2 overlaps, because that's the rule I found, right? 2 overlaps. This is 3 overlaps. 1, 2, 3. So I would cross that out. This already has tons. This has only 2. This has only 2. And this has like way too many. So I'd assume it would either be C or D, right? But now I have to look for something different. What else can we look at? These all have 3 shapes. These also have 3 shapes. I'd say size we can look at. Small shape, medium, medium, big, big. So it could still be either of them. So it seems like, yeah, well, I think what I'd go is, what we'd have to go with is intersections. We have to look at intersections more carefully, because look, this one is intersecting the whole thing. This one is intersecting the whole thing. It's going across the whole. But this is only going into it, and it's only going into it like once. So it looks like that's what we're going to have to look for. This is going across and one. This is a cross and a cross, so it can't be D. Which is why the answer is C, because of the way they're intersecting. I would have initially thought it would have been the shapes, but let's see. So you can look on the website for the answer sheet as well, and it'll have explanations for these ones specifically. Question 127. What we can look for, what's similar, is the number of shapes. This is the shapes that we have specifically. This intersection is the same, so that can be one rule. You can immediately cross out any that don't have it. All of them have it. The shapes are the same, they're the same size, so we can cross out any that's different sizes. Not this. We can keep the rest. It always has a white triangle. All of these have a white triangle. What about the size of the shape? The size of the bigger shape? Sides. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 4. This is 3. This is 1. This is curved sides, so I'd cross that out. These are straight lines. We're left with a triangle and a square. We have to realize we have to choose. Now the question is, which one do we choose? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sides. We have 3 here and 4 here. So I'd say odd shapes. So we're going to go with D instead of B. Question 128. What's similar? is these little squares, so we can already cross that out. Just little overlapping squares, right? Cross that, we can cross that. We're left with two options, and we can cross out B because it doesn't have a dashed line, because that's obviously the other rule, right? Question 129. What's similar? These both have a plus, so that could be a rule. We can cross out anything that doesn't have a plus. That has a plus, yeah, okay. What other rules can we look for? It has four of these octagons, I think they are. So anything that doesn't have four octagons we can cross out. Bosh, bosh, bosh. And we're left with B. Question 130. They have two black pentagons and one white. So we can cross out C, cross out E. Okay, what other rule can we look for? The dashed lines are the same, so that could be a rule. You can cross out that, and we're left with A. Question 131. What rule is there? Everything is the same apart from the symbol, so I'm first going to look for something that has the same outer shape. You can cross out a few of them, these ones, and that's either C or A. And the question is, which symbol do we do? Is it going to be an M, or is it going to be this? Well, the rule seems to be curves. These are all curves, so I'm going to go C. Question 132. What symbol got our answer? E. Final question, 133. Okay, what's similar between these two? The outer shape, the hexagon. So anything that isn't a hexagon, no, they're all same. So what other rule could we have? There's a dashed line down the halfway point. All of them have a dashed line down the halfway point. Three shapes. There's a line of reflection down the middle. You can only cross out a few. We're left with three shapes. So what else can we look at? We've looked at reflection. We've looked at shape number. We've looked at sides. We can also look for something else. Sometimes when we get stuck on this, I like to break it down into what is actually in the shape. Just list it out. So the shape is a hexagon. There's three shapes inside. And there's a dashed line, dotted line. So we've looked for a rule in the hexagon. All of them have a hexagon. We can't cross anything out. We've looked for the three shapes inside. We've crossed some out. We found nothing. The last thing to look at is the dotted line. And if we look for a similarity in the dotted line, it seems like they're both going from the corners to the corners. So we can cross this out. And we can cross this out. So it's going to be D. And that's your final answer. And yeah, that's going to be year 5 homework 2. Didn't get through all of it, but got through the important parts, I think. If there's anything you're struggling on with, punctuation or English, any of this, bring it to the next lesson. And we should be able to go over it. But hope this was helpful.